So for those of you who didn't see my video explaining what the Amazon Associates program is and how it's going to work with this channel, let me do a brief recap on that for a moment. So Amazon has created a program called the Amazon Associates program that helps YouTube creators such as myself in a way to monetize our channel. Because as you probably know, YouTube has become stricter and stricter about what they want to monetize on YouTube for their platform. It's becoming very hard for YouTube creators to make money from their videos the way they used to, or to grow their channels with income the way that they used to. The reason why is they're saying it's not advertiser friendly. Point in case, when you report the subjects that mainstream media doesn't talk about, it's not advertiser friendly. So they won't monetize your videos. So if you do shopping on Amazon, if you make purchases, you go to the link below, you click on it, takes you to Amazon just like you normally would go to Amazon. You can then search for whatever product it is you wanted to buy, and by making that purchase after clicking on the link, this channel will get a commission of that sale. And it is a great way to help support this channel and help us spread our message and grow this channel so that we can reach more and more people out there. So we thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoy the video. Well, the Democrats have fumbled yet again in the impeachment inquiry against President Trump. Now, some of you may watch what we're about to talk about and review. You may not consider it a fumble. To me, though, anything is going to be a fumble if President Trump or anyone else is able to point out that there is a significant double standard being applied here. Okay? So, this has all happened because Trump sent out a tweet. Usually how most of these problems start. But he used one particular word in that tweet. Without further ado, let's take a look at the tweet.
Instead of the phrase witch hunt, which this time he used a much more incendiary word, talking about the investigation. Here's what he tweeted. He said, all Republicans must remember what they are witnessing here, a lynching.
So, he's used the word lynching. Now, there's a lot of clips that are going to be following momentarily, but there was definitely some outrage over it, and one in particular who took high offense to it. He was about to give this nice big speech on the floor of the House, Representative Al Green. Let's see what he has to say.
And still I rise, Mr. Speaker. And I rise today with a heavy heart and tears welling in my eyes. I rise. I rise because how dare the president compare lynching to impeachment? How dare he do this? Does he not know the history of lynching in this country? Does he not know that thousands of African Americans were lynched, mob violence? Does he not know that this is the equivalent of murder?
So, the line of attack, we're setting up race baiting. We're setting up Trump's a racist. We're setting up he's, insulting the African American community by even insinuating there's some sort of comparison to be made between his impeachment and lynching. And we're going to go on this nice, big, long tirade about it. Now, here's my thing, okay? I'm not going to dispute anything Al Green's saying right now in regards of what has happened with lynching over the course of history. Yes, that stuff happened. Unfortunately, if you look at the literal definition of the word, I don't know, lynch, that's commonly used as a way to describe an angry mob coming after someone, and it doesn't necessarily mean someone of color. Okay, so that's just fact first and foremost. Now, I get what it might be more commonly used for, but as I've said, in other situations, the only thing that I think that could be made here is back when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez used the concentration camp word, and trying to use the literal definition of that. So in that instance, I don't think saying lynch mob perhaps was the best choice of words for President Trump to use, just like concentration camp many months ago wasn't the best of choices for AOC. Okay? But nonetheless, you do have, okay, a lot of people coming after Trump. And unfortunately, in what they're coming after him on, he's got firepower to say, well, wait a minute, your people are guilty of the same thing you're trying to impeach me over. Well, what the hell's your problem? Again, if it was a one-way street here, we were playing fair and by the book, he wouldn't have that argument to even make. Therefore, when he says this is a witch hunt, a nothing burger, a lynch mob, whatever he wants to call it on any day of the week on Twitter or Fox News or wherever he's at the time, okay, whatever he wants to say, people are going to say, yeah, he's right. I mean, the facts are on his side. You people are clearly practicing a double standard over there in Congress and on Capitol Hill. Okay? So, with that being said, for Al Green's line of attack and line of accusation here to really work, you would think that this would need to be some language that would not be common to describe any sort of a political, jump of someone, some sort of a political attack by multiple political opponents. This must be language that's not commonly used and probably hasn't been used by a lot of politicians before. So that's got to be the case here for this to have some teeth and can sink in on Trump, right? But unfortunately, as you're about to see in the following clips, we're about to watch yet another circus, and that is not the case. So let's just take a look.
The inequities in the impeachment process have been glaring. What we are doing here is not a prosecution, it's a persecution. And indeed, it is a political lynching.
So I will not vote for this nightmare before Christmas. I will not vote for this lynching in the people's house. I will vote against these resolutions.
Even if the president should be impeached, history is going to question whether or not this was just a partisan lynching.
Whoa. Let's not go any farther. One thing that came out during all this was Joe Biden trying to throw a line of attack at Trump, also saying that he is despicable for comparing his impeachment to lynching. Who was that? Joe Biden's twin? His twin that apparently is despicable because he is comparing an impeachment to a lynching back in the 90s? Yeah, by the way, for those who haven't figured out, this is Democrats talking about the impeachment hearings on Bill Clinton back in the 90s. Okay? So, are you starting to see the pattern now? Are you starting to see the double standard? If I can find this, and I can point this out, with a low budget setup in Spartanburg, South Carolina that I'm trying to grow, but I'm not there yet. I'm at 26 subscribers on YouTube. If I can get a hold of this, you're telling me you don't think the President of the United States can get a hold of this? You mean to tell me he's not going to talk about this at his rallies? He's not going to do this and talk about this to fire his base up more and more and more so they turn out to the polls for the election in 2020? Really?
This day feels to me like we're taking a step down the road to becoming a political lynch mob.
And for those of you who say that this isn't about sex, I agree with you. This is about getting rid of the President of the United States. The whole idea is a lynch mob mentality that says this man has to go.
So, how many different Democrats, white politicians, politicians of color, how many different ones just throughout this clip compared Bill Clinton's impeachment to a lynching? Yet you've got to be in your saddle about President Trump saying that. And you're trying to spin it as just more of him being a racist and this and that, blah, 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 blah. Okay, people. I'll play devil's advocate here for just a moment. Just a moment, okay? We'll say Trump is a complete no-good racist. Some of you may believe that. Some of you may not. Okay? I personally just think he has a tendency to open his mouth too much and, shove his foot in it sometimes. As a Jim Ross used to say in WWE, I think sometimes he's got a case of diarrhea of the mouth and constipation of the brain. I think he just speaks without, thinking about what he's saying too much. That's my take on what I've seen from him. And while he may have some very old school views about some things that people today consider possibly a little bigoted, I don't genuinely think that deep down Trump has this deep-seated hatred and racism all throughout his core. So, that being said, you can agree with me, you can disagree with me on that. Just my personal opinion, but I'll play devil's advocate. He is a complete, lousy, no-good, rotten racist. Okay? He's a completely bigoted individual. He's Archie Bunker on 10,000 steroids. There. It's out there, okay? And so he said this because he's just that racist and bigoted. And this is inappropriate language that no one should be using because it draws such a similarity to the lynchings that happened to African Americans many, many years ago. Okay? And so that despicable, no good, rotten, lousy, bigoted reason is exactly why he said it. Because he wanted to insult the African American community. Because he wanted to make it seem like he was being a victim of what they were a victim of. Well, you're completely right. Then how do you explain all this other stuff? How do you explain all these other people, Joe Biden included, using this same sort of language about Bill Clinton? Now, just because it didn't come out of Bill Clinton's mouth, does that make it any different? Really? At the end of the day, does that really make it any different? You said all but the same words. Lynch and lynching, or political lynching, or whatever, was all included in all these variations. It all revolved around lynching. And if we're just going to go to the root of lynching and say that it's, what happened to African Americans many, 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 many years ago, yeah, the dictionary says one thing, but this is what it really is, then why did you use this back in the 90s? Once again, if you think that President Trump would not use this to just fire shots back at the Democrats all day long, to tell you the truth, I really don't know if Trump is sitting back angry at the fact they're saying this, or if he's sitting back laughing and smiling about the fact that they're saying it, and not because I think he is what they're accusing him of. I think it's because he's realizing, like, yeah, come on, baby. Keep feeding me this bull crap, because I'm going to use it to dismantle you in the next election. There's issues in this country that real working people need to have addressed. This impeachment inquiry is already starting off of a double standard issue in the first place. You didn't pick an issue that you could have attacked him with that would make sense. You picked the worst thing possible. You picked an issue that a man who is at one point your front runner right now in the primaries, he's not the front runner, I don't think, at this point, but he was. And he was guilty of basically doing the very same thing with the vice presidency that you're accusing him of. Oh, and by the way, the Obama administration lobbied to get help from the Ukraine and to get dirt on President Trump, Obama, and Hillary Clinton. So if it's so wrong, why were they doing it? You got to raise that question too. So we're basing this all on double standard. Anything he says, we'll use double standard when we attack him. Anything he does, we'll use a double standard on that. For his impeachment, we'll use a double standard on his actions. Other people may be guilty of doing the exact same thing. We never said one word to them or about it, but we're going to do it because, well, this is Donald Trump, and we don't like Donald Trump. He's going to use this all day long, and he's going to take all the Democrats who are just standing there cheering this on when it comes time for 2020, especially if they nominate some candidate like Warren, Booker, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, any of these clowns. If they get the nomination, he's going to eat them for lunch, man. He's going to pick their bones in the next election. And if the Democrats really want to get something done, they better start wisening up, because this might be rallying their base up, but as far as anyone in the middle, as far as anyone who's undecided about this, and as far as his base is concerned, yeah, you're making yourself look like complete ass clowns. Plain and simple. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Independent Report. If you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up and like the video. Also, if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to ask, or topics you'd like us to cover, please drop a comment in the comment box below. And also, please subscribe to the channel. And if you do subscribe, ring that bell so you'll stay up to date when we drop new videos and you'll get notifications of it. And also, please support us on Patreon. Funds are going to be used to grow and improve this channel so we can reach more and more people and spread the message that the mainstream media doesn't want to tell people. We hope you'll tune in next time.